already.
Yeah, and quinoa salad. Right. And we are live, the Den Debate, the return of the Den Debate, joined by Kenny and Henry again. Thanks for joining us, boys.
Thanks for having us.
I feel tonight's going to be a busy one. It's going to be a busy one tonight. Kenny the quinoa. It's going to be busy tonight, but I said we didn't do one last week. This week, we haven't signed anyone, but we have signed one player. But I feel it's going to be a busier one because of Saturday's result in particular, which is where we're going to start. Then we're going to go through the elephant in the room, the defamation of Gary Rowett. And then we're going to throw it out there as well to people. So if people are commenting, like I say, comment on what's actually going on at the time, and then you can join in. But yeah, we want to try and get full opinions from people. If you want to ask us anything later on, we'll happily answer the questions because we've got a little bit of, we try and show both sides of the coin all the time, but I'm fully Rowett out, as is Kenny. We have been for a while. H, you're still Rowett in, so it could be a good debate tonight. We'll start with you. How can you be Rowett in after Saturday? I'm not saying you should or shouldn't be.
No, I hear you. Okay, right. Well, first and foremost, I think it's quite straightforward, right? Look at the team on Saturday. I'm going to start with the team on Saturday, okay? Now, I don't know who else people wanted him to play. And I've got an idea about who those individuals might be, but I've got to be honest, it would have been a risk either way, and he's quite a risk-adverse individual, okay? That's who Gary Rowett is. So let's have a quick look, right? Bart, Malone, Cooper, Hutch, Wallace, Danny Mack. All right. Yeah. Malone hasn't been playing that well recently, okay? I'll take that. But who are you going to replace him with? Who have we got? No one, because we've got no injuries. Evans, Clifton, Veld, Mitchell. Okay, I get that maybe one of those three you may have substituted for a Burke, possibly for a Tyler Burry, but you're telling me that's not a risk. I mean, Tyler Burry's just come back from Hartlepool with his own issues following him down that motorway, all right? And then you've got you've got Burke coming in on loan from Sheffield United who hasn't been getting a lot of game time. Is he match fit? Probably not. Yeah, you could take a gamble and see if you get 60 minutes out of him. And then up front, you've got Mason Bennett and Benik Afobe. Who would you change in that team? I mean, people going on about it being a defensive selection. Yes. And it's a defensive selection for the very reason that Gary Rowett is now in a position that he didn't want to be in, which was if you lose at Blackpool, where do you go? We got nothing from Blackpool. And I'll tell you something now. He'll be lucky to see the end of February, and not that I agree with that, but genuinely look at the fixtures that are coming up. He's going to really struggle. So my first defence of Gary Rowett is essentially who else is he going to pick? Number two, if you lose George Saville, if you lose Ojo, if you lose Wallace, if you lose Tom Bradshaw, if you lose Danny Ballard, they are 5 core members of the team. And even if you don't think Ojo is, I'm telling you now, the others are. So you lose those individuals in a small squad with not that much experience, with bit part players coming in around the outside to try and make window dressing and good of what I think is difficult positions. Evans on Saturday was pushed further up the field, clearly playing a bit higher on the left as some kind of combine role. Had a shocking game. He had a shocking game, Hey, but again, you're asking a player to come in and play in a role that he hasn't played before. Number three, you're then also asking all those players to gel on a match day at Blackpool away where they're trying to bash you. Malone's getting done by that number 11 down the right-hand side all game. I got exactly what I thought I was going to get from the Blackpool away game, which was a difficult, hard, awful football, terrible to watch. I'm glad that I had enough Doom Bar before I got to the game to not really remember it. Rowett in.
There you go. It's fucking hell. You rehearsed that. Well, I'm going to let Kenny go next. I've been making notes as you've been talking there. But one of my sort of things I will be alluding to is this. Rowett's got his perfect formation, 6-4-0. Ken?
Yeah, I wish I rehearsed something as perfect as that before coming on.
He's asked the question there, so it's fair enough. Now we've got to respond to...
Who you respond to in that starting lineup, Kenny?
What would you change out that starting lineup?
So first and foremost, I wouldn't have that lineup.
Exactly. Formation-wise, you're talking, yeah?
Yeah. So you go for 4-4-2?
Essentially, something along the lines of that. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to disagree with H on the fact that missing these players could be detrimental to our team. However, you could also have a Phobie out of that, Mitchell out of that, Malone out of that. It doesn't matter who's in the team. If you're going to set up like that, you're not going to win football games, and that's been proven. Also, a counter argument to what H is saying, we weren't necessarily doing that great results-wise with them players in the team. The only difference is...
I would agree. So, sorry, who was the 6 players? Who was the 6 players? Because I saw this on social. The 6 players we're allegedly missing was Ojo.
George Saville, Ojo, Wallace.
He's been awful, Saville. Bradshaw, yeah, agreed.
I know, I agree with this. He's being played out of position in a role that doesn't really suit him. But is he better than Cliftonveld? Yes. Is he better than Evans? Yes.
Okay, who else? Jed, and he hasn't played this year.
Ballard,
yeah, but I mean he's been out for a while. But okay, Ballard, yeah, because he's a big miss. So that's 5, yeah.
Well, Kenny makes a point, and I take it about it not working with this team. We were 3 points off the playoffs at one stage, not that long ago, before the Bristol game, maybe. So yes and no, and the other thing as well. Okay, the last, point I would make: if we wind ourselves back to the first half of that Nottingham Forest game, you're telling me that wasn't a team that was on top. That wasn't a team that was pushing to try and win the game. Ojo was running the show. Tom Bradshaw was making runs in, around the back. He's on the best form of his life. Both those 2 players at the end of that first half go down and have to go off injured. And then the second half is a free-for-all, like just 2 punch-drunk, old, junkie-style football teams going at it, and Forest got the lucky break and scored the goal. We could have equalised Saturday as well. We could have equalised against Forest. Again, I have to say, Phobie, I thought he was shocking against Blackpool.
And Kelly said something very interesting on our group chat in the week. He said he's a very good actor, didn't you, Ken?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a reason. Let's be honest. In football, you're not usually liked. As a footballer, you're not liked by all sets of fans that you come across. That's usually a thing. You're a Judas. You're hated on. You've switched to a different team. Blah blah blah. All these different reasons why fans won't like you. For instance, there's people on here a couple of weeks ago that wouldn't have liked Jed if he'd gone to Forest. That's it. He's done. No. And for someone like a Phobie, like I said to you, he is a class actor. He plays up for the fans. If there's something going on, he makes sure he's in there for the fans. But let's be honest, he can't hit a barn door, Dan H. He can't. It's fact. He's awful.
We're not even getting to that point because we're not getting to the point of where he can actually shoot a lot of the time because he's inherited what some people call Bradshaw's trampoline touch. He gave the ball away against Forest in the first half about 6 times. He can't hold the ball up, but in his defence, I was saying this to my mate today, doesn't matter, as we said this so many times before, if you've got Ronaldo and Messi up front, because we had, in effect, that formation I put on the screen was a false thing, really, because we had 8. Sorry, not that one. That's my West Brom team. This one. We had 8 at the back, right?
Well, except Evans was playing further up the pitch, wasn't he?
I don't think he was. I think Mitchell was on the left. I don't know what Evans is doing, mate. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. He's a professional footballer. I don't know. I honestly don't. He just comes. He just helps it on.
Man City. I mean, you must have got lost from Macclesfield or something. I'm telling you.
I don't mind him in the back. I don't mind him in the back, but look to show you that he can play centre back as well. Shows you he's a naturally defensive midfielder, isn't it? If he is going to be,
he can't play there. He's not that player. The best game he's had this season was against Cambridge United when they let him have a free wandering role, and he looked like Ronaldo.
What division are they in?
Well, exactly. Therein lies my point. But again, but these are the types. If you've got a budget and Rowett'S scrabbling around to try and make signings, he's got to bring in his mates, which I don't agree with. I don't think he's done a good job so far. But also, if Rowett was sitting here now, he would be like, "What do you want me to do? Who do you want me to go and sign? I'm trying to make my best." And Burke, okay, hasn't worked out for him at Sheffield United, hasn't worked out for him at West Brom, but West Brom's a Fruit Loop team that they're doing, thousands of bits. The only decent bit of business they've done recently is Carl and Grant, quite frankly. All the others are just coming through the merry-go-round there. On paper, a Scottish international, someone who's played at Alaves, someone who's played a full season for Red Bull Leipzig, it's a good player. but potentially, right? Potentially a good player. Now, Evans and Cliff don't sort of fit that, but Ojo does. He does. And also, if you listen to his narrative, right, he's talking about wanting to be more ball playing, not wanting to be as direct and wanting to try and move away from that, but trying to sign the right players. But at the moment, he can't do that. Now, that's partly COVID, it's partly because we've got no money. There are a plethora of other reasons as well why I think...
We'll agree he's been unlucky with injuries on loanees that we've got in.
Recruit. Oh, well, I mean, in injuries, I've already made my point there.
Well, sorry, I'm going to get to Ken now. Georgie boy says entertaining football is what we want. I mean, I'd rather go out there and fall on my sword and lose 4-0 and have a go than lose the way we did. Gary, James, thank you so much for the early donations. Super chats are open. You can donate to the channel if you like. Cheers, Gal. But Ken, for me, you was at Huddersfield and you've just got the pox of it now. You watched both games. You watched the Blackpool game from indoors. For me, that was worse than Huddersfield. It was the worst performance of the season because we couldn't string 2 passes together. Literally A to B, 5 yards.
It's. I mean, I'm just gonna fall back to this all the time. It's formation. I don't doubt, and I've had arguments with people in the past about this, about blaming the players. People blaming the players, they're not giving enough. I think that the players are playing exceptionally well, given the positions that they're being put in. It's really off-putting when you can't see you two. Is it because you're trying to have a chat with someone? I think it's. I think that the players have done extremely well, and I think they honestly do put a shift in. But I honestly believe the instructions that they're being given are wrong. That's just my opinion. That does fall down to the manager. I remember, I think I said in the WhatsApp group during the game, there was a point when we were defending. It was a free kick inside Blackpool's half, and I could see Rowett. So you had all the defence was back, obviously, all the midfield was back, and Rowett is dragging Bennett back as well. Get back, get back, get back, get back. And this is what I don't understand about his setup of play is we can't counter. If we get rid of the ball, we can't counter. We're just giving ourselves another problem if we do get to clear the ball. So we have no creativity in our team. I don't blame that on the players. I blame that again on formation and tactics and instruction. I honestly believe with the players that we have in the team and the ones that we have that are injured, we have enough in the locker to push for a playoff position this season. However, the way we've been set up and the way that they've been instructed, which is obvious now, sit back, sit back, sit back, sit back.
Yeah. Well, you just said that you're right, in my opinion, Ken. And Henry, you just said that we near the playoffs we were. I think, one, it was a little bit of a false position. I honestly can't believe how bad Saturday was. And I blame the players and the manager. Players because they couldn't string 2 passes together. And someone said in the comments, which I agree, I just got a sense that there's a rift. But what Ken's saying is, from where I was standing Saturday, 8 at the back, we played with 3 CDMs, in my mind.
So and who do you change from that starting lineup?
The detachment, like Ken's saying, if we did get out, we say this all the time, well, if we had Messi and Ronaldo up front, we wouldn't score. I didn't think Bennett or Bennett played well, but they so isolated that, like Kenny said, we couldn't even get out because the ball was going up. It's 50 yards and it's come back.
So what would you have changed? I understand what you're saying, but what would you have changed from that starting lineup then?
Right.
We've got to go there then. Because,
no problems. I wouldn't have changed any players. I wouldn't have changed any players. I would have changed the formation. I would have changed the instruction. It is so obvious, H, that that they are being told to sit. It's so I've never seen another football team sit as much as what we do. And if you're going away to Fulham, for instance, so when we play Fulham, right? I know, and then we sit back like that. You understand a little bit. Look, we're playing Fulham; they're far more superior to us, man for man. We're gonna have to sit back and we're gonna have to ride our luck. But when you're playing teams like Blackpool, a team that's just come up into the division, I mean, granted they're playing well, and I think that they actually, just for the record, run rings round us when we had a fully fit squad at home playing in that formation. You need to go for it. And we've always said this, as a Millwall supporter, I don't care about the result technically. If you're putting a shift in, the boys we're playing at sort of attacking football, there's chances, there's ups, there's downs. You're screaming 1 minute, you're crying the next. You know, you're up off your seat 1 minute, you're sitting down crying in your hands the next. That is what we've all learned and enjoyed and not enjoyed as Millwall supporters. That's why we go. That's why we love them. But at the moment, say for instance, people like you are doing a 10-hour round trip, spending 200 quid to watch one shot on target against Blackpool.
This is the thing for me. He's going, like, notes I made for the game. I didn't get a chance to do a post-match, but I put something out on social media.
To be fair, I was supposed to come and help you. That wasn't, but I'd left before the end to try and get a train home.
It's just not like I've said from day one. I didn't want him in charge. I don't believe he understands the Millwall way. He plays the same way with whichever team he manages, which the team's usually got the majority of the same players in it because he's re-signs all these players. We had 8 at the back. We went to Blackpool with our tail between our legs. And he said something in the press. He was like, yeah, I wanted to try and keep it at 0-0 and then stick Bury and Burke on to nick something late on. Now, in my mind, firstly, I'll go for it at the back. I'm going to put this team on back on the screen. Firstly, Scott Malone is... Sorry, that's again my team for West Brom. Scott Malone has become an absolute fucking liability, right? The goals, Crystal Palace, the goals at Nottingham Forest, it's all coming down his side. I never said he could defend anyway, right? But he's good going forward. He's no longer good going forward. He's even worse at the back. Murray Wallace, I'll stick at left back. Cooper and Hutchinson are off the boil. We've got no one else at the minute. Danny Mack is the only one of the only shining lights. Keithton Bell was so far off the pace, but again, that's not down to him. So I think the first 10 games of the season was our best player, but for some reason he got dropped out for no reason, as Danny Mack did when he was one of our best players. He missed 7 games for no reason. I don't know. Evans is a professional footballer. Billy Mitchell, along with McNamara, are the only ones that can keep the ball. And people say to me sometimes, yeah, Billy Mitchell's all right, but he only plays it safe. He only plays it short. If you could see the lack of movement, I don't know if you did see it on the telecam or AG was there.
There's nothing.
It was like a fucking game of Subutio, mate.
But again,
looking up and no one was moving. So that's not, to me, that's not down to even formation. That's down to like a lack of patterns of play.
Well,
practice and
exactly,
movement.
You just hit the nail on the head. It's almost like that team had hardly ever played together.
Or trained.
Well, but in a week of training, it's not the same as then turning up on a match day and playing Blackpool away. I don't know what people were expecting us to do at Blackpool. I went up there with a full bag of beer because I knew exactly what was going to happen. And what exactly was going to happen, happened. And the only way it wasn't going to happen was if we, by a miracle, Tyler Bury came on and almost, like he almost did, had a moment of brilliance and managed to get something out of the game. Okay? And when I saw that lineup, I was like, well, where are we going to change it? Okay, so you changed the formation. All right. But then you've got square pegs in round holes. Evans would be out on the right-hand side, right?
Evans would have been sitting at home, mate. He wouldn't have been in the squad.
So who are you playing instead of Evans?
Ben Thompson for a start.
Tomo on the right wing.
Or no, I wouldn't have right wing. There was no right wingers. We had three CDMs. One centre, one left of centre, one right.
What you're saying is you change it to 4-4-2, which I get.
No, not 4-4-2.
So what would you change it to?
I would have played Bart in goal. I would have played Murray Wallace left back, Danny Mack right, Cooper and Hutch. You got to play centre backs. Then I probably would have played. All right, you can argue Thompson hasn't played a lot of games. I would have played Mitchell and Keithton Bell. I would have started with Burke and started with Bury, right, and I would have put Mason Bennett in a 10 probably, and I would have tried to win the game and then defend what we got. I wouldn't have tried to defend what we got when we didn't even have it.
Big gamble, though. Huge gamble. Listen, I'd love him to gamble a little
more. Straight defeats, though, now. That's the problem.
Yeah, okay. But if you're trying to make a managerial decision, right, there have been some young players that have been ruined by overexposure too early, like at this level. Okay, it's happened. Sid Nelson, it sort of happened with. There were a few other players as well back in the annals of time. Marvin Williams, I'll throw him in there as well because he was an old Blackheath Wanderers boy. You know, if you just throw Tyler Bury in there for an entire game from there, yes, he might be absolutely brilliant, but there is a process to follow. We're not playing in League One. We're playing in the Championship with players that are worth tens of millions of pounds now. Okay, all right, not necessarily at Blackpool, but Blackpool was going to be one of those games where actually what you needed was battlers. It was going to be an old League One ding dong, which is exactly what it was. That's not really Tyler Burry's game, is it? So I kind of get where Rowett'S coming from in that situation. Burke, yes, he looked good when he came on. I don't think he was going to be match fit to be able to play because he has not been getting the minutes for Sheffield United.
Yeah.
So that's if I'm Rowett and I'm looking at that is my defence for why I played that team in a formation that we've been training in all year. Whether that's right or wrong, Kenny.
Formation that doesn't work, though, in my opinion. And the thing is, Ken, I
got 3 points off the playoffs earlier in the season.
Yeah, but that's earlier in the season. It's not now. It's not working, in my opinion. It's not working. Do you think he's going to turn it around with the formation we're playing, the players we currently got?
Something is going to have to change, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that something needs to change, but with Rowett in charge. Because
I think that if we'd have gone up there and done what I just said and lost, at least the fans have had a little bit of respect for it. But we know what he's going to do. We know he's going to sit back. Ken, what would you have done?
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan, on the Tyler Berry start. Burke, I would have put Thompson in as well with Mitchell, because if you are going to have a League One battle, then who better to have probably the best battler in League One, 4 seasons ago, Ben Thompson.
Yeah.
Not the same player, though. I hear what you're saying, but I don't think it's the same player.
Yeah, I get that.
He's better than Keith and Belden, fucking Evans, surely.
He is.
I wouldn't say 50 Beld Evans, yeah, but I mean, I could have done a better performance in Evans.
in ways of battling, definitely. But you've got to remember, when we say it's about sticking, kids into the deep end, and I do agree with that philosophy. I think we had that conversation a couple of weeks ago about sticking the kids in. What we've also got to remember, though, is Tyler Berry recently played against Premiership opposition in the FA Cup. So did players like Nana Boateng. Granted, it was minutes, but if you're going to ever throw any kid into the deep end, it would be something like that. So coming into a championship game would be a lot less pressure in my opinion, and so fresh from that experience probably wouldn't have hurt them that bad. I do agree with maybe not starting players like Tyler Berry, but he can have an half or whatever. And
I agree with you there. He could have made them changes at half time, and then maybe we're not on the back foot for the whole of that.
He always waits to concede. He reacts, doesn't he? He reacts. Yeah. I said to my boy, right, and I'm not fucking claiming my football manager. I said, if he doesn't change this in the next 10 minutes, they are going to score. And then they scored, and then he changed it.
Yeah, and the problem is as well, we've got no impact here. So if you haven't made any signings, right? If you've made no signings during other than Burke, then why the hell are you? All right, granted, it hasn't been that great for us as an impact, but why the hell are you letting Matt Smith go? Right, because in a game like that, right, when you've got people like Mahoney coming in off the why are you not putting people like Matt Smith on the pitch to try and impact a game? Go long. We have to go long because it's now reactive. We haven't got any choice. But all we did was replace a player with a player, same instructions, same position. No change. It's not going to change anything.
I think he radically changed it. Like when he brought on, I mean, we ended the game with literally, I don't even know, it's like a 5-0-5 almost. At the end of the game, as all the Blackpool fans with their bloody drum and making all their stupid LA songs as we're walking out, coins coming down, and the police doing nothing as usual, other than probably banning our own fans, like our football club seems to like doing at the moment. It wasn't great. It was embarrassing. They reckon we had 3 shots on target. Well, I must have been well pissed because I think I saw one.
I saw one.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't get that. I agree with you. Listen, I'm not saying he shouldn't change. I just think changing a manager now is a wrong move, especially with the run of games we've got coming up, and especially given the injuries we've got.
Can I just say, H, as well, that there's only one reason why we had 1 shot on target, and that's because someone like Tyler Berry hasn't been grounded by Gary Rowett yet.
Mate, I literally was going to speak before you spoke, and you spoke and said exactly pretty much what I was going to. So did you notice 2 players that come on showed a slight bit of potential, a slight bit of interest in attacking and trying to play football, and create chances, were the 2 players that have been nowhere near our squad because they haven't been at the club.
Yep.
Watch what happens this week when Rowett gets them in training, mate. He's grinding them all down, the players. They must, I mean, would you be I mean, you said that you went up there thinking we was going to lose. I probably would have got, but I would have already put in a hotel. But it's no fun to watch. You think it's any fun to play him for these players? I think there's a definite detachment, and you saw everything that hasn't been Rowett instilled and grinded down and brainwashed by Rowett in Tyler Bury and fucking Burke when they came on, because they both had pace.
Hold on a sec, but 2 weeks ago we were raving about Ojo, and before that everyone's either raving about Jed Wallace or saying he's trying to do too much, and they've both been playing under him. He's lost some significant players, and he's trying to now use players that are bottom end of the championship at best, to be honest with you. And
yeah, but Jed Wallace wasn't cut from the mold. Jed Wallace wasn't cut. Jed Wallace is Jed Wallace, does what Jed Wallace wants. He was established in the core of the side long before Rowett turned up. Ojo started to play well when Rowett started playing him as a 10, because he kept putting him out wide, and he wasn't that player. When he actually bit the bullet and went to playing a 10, that's when Ojo started playing well.
Because Wallace was out. So I mean, you could go around in circles discussing this all night, but genuinely, I think. There's not a single person. So you're telling me there's not a single person watching this evening that thinks that we should stick with Gary Rowett, try and get something out of this 3-year plan. We should chop and change now, middle of the season with our worst run of games coming up. Stick the new manager in. Yeah, great. He starts on a 5-game losing streak or with 1 draw at home at Preston. Nah, madness.
Well, I think it's a perfect time to bring in a new manager, because God forbid we won't go down, not because we're that good at the minute, but teams below us. I mean, it's 6 defeats in the last 8, 4 straight defeats. It's only going one way. I mean, I will point back to the fact that during lockdown, we was something like 13 games without a win, and it went to like 15, but he still kept his job. So everyone's going, oh no, but we've had COVID. No, not for me. Sorry, just 1 second. Christian Bastianelli, thank you very much, mate, for your donation over there in Belgium.
Neil Harris back. You see, what are you talking about? Neil Harris back. Do people not remember the football we played under Neil Harris? It wasn't like exciting, expansive, going out there attacking football. It was very similar to what Gary Rowett does now. We concede the possession to the other team and then we hit them on the break. And at the moment, we're conceding possession to the other team. We're just not hitting them on the break because you've got 5 players who could be doing those things sitting in the injury list.
A good thing to sort of come and a good thing to sort of come back on you, H, on this without challenging you too much.
Sorry, Kenny.
Is we talk about Rowett and we talk about Neil Harris as well. Now, Neil Harris, I would class as widely known as a club legend.
Real well.
Now, we've had Rowett here for 3 years doing the same thing. And it's got to the point where we are now starting to get pissed off with it. We're starting to get upset about it, etc. However, Neil Harris, as far as I'm concerned, had 1 bad season. And with the end of that season coming, he got abused by our fans, which Rowett isn't getting. He got spat at. he got spat at by our own fans, which I'm sure, of course, which I'm sure Rowett hasn't experienced. And he had 1 bad season. But you know the difference between Rowett and Neil Harris is that Neil Harris, for the good of the team, knew it was time to go.
Spot on.
Now, Rowett, deep down, if I was Gary Rowett, right, I'd be looking at that going, all right, my injuries are down. My form is horrendous. All the fans, are turning around and saying, look, my formation's wrong. And that's what I'm used to. And that's what I do. I've realised it's not the Millwall way that people always like to go on about. And look at the 6 games that I've got coming up. Right? For me, I'd go. I know it's a job, but...
That's what I'm saying. I know it is a job, you're right. But 1, I don't think you get a job anywhere else. 2, this is the thing that we're all fucking... Everyone's going mad. We're all fucking debating. But as Millwall fans... We're not actually displeased with our league position. This is what we aim for every year. Championship stability and maybe a cup run. It's the point that the football has become so bad and so depressing to watch that we're unhappy at being 12th in the table and people are asking for Neil Harris back. That's how bad
it's the first half against Forest that bad?
No, but we scored 12 goals in 12 games.
But the football weren't that great, H. The football weren't that great. But what we saw was 11 players.
Right.
Yeah, but
I don't mind, boys. Sorry, I don't mind if the football's not bad. That doesn't bother me as long as they give everything. And in H's defence, that's when I said that we would turn with Neil Harris. I said Blackburn away when Harris was in charge. We didn't cross the halfway line that day, and that day I went, something's changed here. I don't know what it is. Something's changed. And about four games later, he went. Now, for me, Rowett does that in every game and isn't going anywhere. But go on, Ken. Sorry, before you carry on, Trev's bigging you up, Ken. Thank you, Sir Trevor of Reimer. Goff. Kenny for manager, Rowett boredom, our youngsters in attack, not defend. You can't blame injuries, it's tactics.
To be fair to Trevor, I understand what you're saying about tactics. And yes, I think if he wants to stay, he's going to have to make some adaptations. I'm saying at the moment, at this point, after Blackpool away, with this run of games coming up, it's make or break for him. All you people that want Rowett out, you're going to get your wish anyway by mid-Feb. He won't make it to the end of February. Look at the run of games we've got coming up.
Well, I can look at the run of games coming up because I've done my fucking research. Here we go.
You go.
It's our six. There's a fucking beautiful link, H. Thanks. This is our six next. Easy. It's a family show. League games. West Brom at home. Preston at home. Fulham away. Good luck with that one for anyone who's going because I'm fucking not. Cardiff at home. QPR at home and then Blackburn away. QPR fourth, I think Blackburn third. Cardiff always a battle. Fulham flying. That's going to be 10-0. Preston always a bogey side. And West Brom. The 6 games aside, H, do you genuinely believe that he's capable of turning this round? And if so, how? I'll say this to both of you.
He's got to get the right personnel in for a start, okay? We need someone like Malumbi back. Because when we had Malumbi and we had people when you had that link person that could, get the ball from midfield and do something creative with it, we go and smash. And I'm going to keep going back to it, that Forest away game on the Friday night, just before lockdown, before they paused the season, when we were on a roll of all rolls. Okay. And I think we missed out on the playoffs in the end by about 3 or 4 points, right? That season. Okay. And if it wasn't for COVID, I generally think that we probably would have made the playoffs because we wouldn't have lost the next game 3-2 against Derby and let that Sibley geezer, score a hat trick. Okay. And obviously, look, we can't deal in, and I said this the last time around, we can't deal in what ifs. Okay. That we can't do that.
You're saying that though, but you're saying we was 3 points of the playoffs. We nearly made the playoffs. Fact is, we didn't get there.
We didn't know. But okay, what other manager? I'm going to throw everything in the river now. What other manager has had to deal with a pandemic?
All of them, all 92 managers.
Yeah, okay. And some of them have got better resources than we have. And how many of those 92 managers still got their job?
Okay, I think the Coventry manager, H, for instance, the Coventry manager had to deal with COVID, also injuries at the beginning of the season. However, their budget is smaller than ours.
Yeah, they got better players though.
They have, but they brought them players in.
Yeah, they also developed them through. They've got a good scouting arrangement with Oxford, and there were a few other things going on there as well. Which I don't know if we do. We've got some good young players. We've got so many injuries at the moment. It's very difficult.
We've got the best youngsters we've had in a very long time. Got a lot of more than capable ones. I just think if Rowett did something to show a bit of intent, what it is, right, and rightly so, he's the manager and he shouldn't give a fuck what the fans think. I agree with that. He's a professional football manager. He thinks he knows his onions and he knows what's best. And if you start bowing down to fan pressure, then you are fucked, aren't you? But just to change something, just to show a little bit of intent, go, do you know what? 3 at the back ain't working. I'm not going to play 3 at the back. I am going to drop Scott Malone. I am going to make an attempt to score more than an average of one goal per game, because we don't keep clean sheets anymore either. So we are going to concede, which means we've got to score at least 1, and we can't really score often more than 1, which means we're only going to get a point in matches. Do you know what I mean?
At the moment, Mason Bennett, lots of huff and puff, but he's dislocated his finger. He's probably going to be out for another 9 months or something. Right?
So he actually dislocated his finger?
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
For God's sake.
But he carried on playing, didn't he? Mason Bennett and Benicophobe up front. And all right, you can tag Rowett for signing a phobie, but quite honest, what are we supposed to... Okay, well, John, I'll just agree with both of what they say and we'll have a boring chat.
No, exactly. No, so I'm just going to say as well, obviously, this is a fan channel. We do want to show both sides of the coin, and debates to the contrary. So H is throwing things into the mix. You think that he is fucked, H, anyway. His time is up, but you are pointing out, reasons. But it just shows you, mate, because when I said this not too long ago, every time he was getting a result, some guy on Twitter just kept tagging me and going, "Rowett out?" ? He's vanished now, obviously. But it just seems to be everyone now. But H is obviously, it would be a boring chat if we all just agreed and just slagged Rowett. It would probably be quite exciting for me.
Can I throw one more curveball in, or do you want to move on, Dan? I don't mind.
Go on, mate. No, it's good. Keep going. Right, I'm loving it.
So I was going to say, when we look at successful managers at this level in Millwall's history, okay, and I mean in the second tier, so we go back further and further. There has only been one manager that has managed to get us out of this, and that's John Doherty, right? Mick McCarthy got us to the playoffs, didn't do it. Big old Mark McGee, who I love, got us to the playoffs, couldn't do it. And they all have something in common. They all have roughly managed around the same amount of games for us, okay? And their points per game are very similar to what Gary Rowett's is. Gary Rowett's points per game is 1.43. I don't really know what that proves, but I just looked it up earlier. It's a good stat, so I'm going to throw it out there. Neil Harris's was 1.49, but with 3 seasons of that at a lower level. So if you look at our last few, like our 10 best ever finishes, I think 2 of the best of those 10, or it's either 8 and 12, were under Gary Rowett. Now, I'm not saying that that's what we should be aiming for. I'm just saying, I think the man personally needs to be given the next 7 games. And if we get more than 2 points out of those 7 games, keep the man in charge. If we don't, ta-da.
Can I say something on what you've just said there, H? It's a big difference, and I think when we're debating this, we look at it from 2 completely different angles, because you were saying there about getting to the playoffs, etc.
You said exactly what I was going to say. You're going to say exactly what I was going to say. That's not what we're aiming for, is it?
No. What I'm going to say is, out of the managers that you mentioned, say Mick McCarthy, Neil Harris, there was another one?
I think I only mentioned John Doherty, didn't I, who got us there.
Okay, so John Doherty, Mick McCarthy and Neil Harris were the names I heard you mention.
No, Mark McGee.
Oh, and Mark McGee. Okay, so them 4 managers, not one of them 4 managers drained the life out of us as fans and made us not took our Millwall away from us.
See, I'm not. You said what we're aiming for. I'm not aiming for anywhere. I'm happy just existing in the Championship. If we get there, great, for a little one-off to, we've all got kids now. Let the kids fucking see it and have the iconic photos 20 years time. And
not very funny.
I'm not trying to get anywhere. I just
because he's going to keep.
I think Rowett. I'm with Kenny. I think Rowett is killing the soul of the club and what it stands for. You don't fucking go to Blackpool and put 8 men behind the ball and hope to live something.
And at the same bat, so Lewisham Council and what they're doing with renewal around the ground. Okay, you're talking about the soul of the club getting taken away. Well, Gary Rowett's sapping it from one end, and Lewisham Council are doing it from the other today. So and it's not even going to be affordable for housing for people that actually live in the area.
I think H, with that, we don't have to look at them doing the paperwork. What we do have to do is watch Gary Rowett's football on the pitch, and that's what we're us 3 and everybody in the comments. We're all the same, really. What we do, we work hard, we provide for our family, we're good people. And then on a Saturday, we go to scream our lungs off, support our football team, the highs, the lows, we get pissed, and then we get on a Monday, we recover on a Sunday, and we go back to work on a Monday. That is what we do. And right now, we're not, as fans, even you, H, because you said, I'm going up there with beer because I know what's going to happen. We're not enjoying our Millwall anymore. And that has nothing to do with renewal. And that has nothing to do, in my opinion, with the players. I think I said in my post-match, you could have had 11 Ronaldos on the pitch. It wouldn't have made any difference, because if you're being instructed to do something to make your play so defensive, we're not going to win games and we're not going to be entertaining. And that is going to continue, unfortunately, because Gary Rowett, I do dislike him as a person now, but he is a very defensively minded manager, and you can't change that. And he's not going to.
It's depressing watching me all now, mate. Hasn't it not? It's always been a little bit depressing, hasn't it? I mean,
a little bit.
I mean, can you imagine if we had this when people like Jimmy Nicholl was in charge, like when we had bloody Tuttle in charge of the football? Because I mean,
they didn't. Neither of those lasted 3 years though. They fucked off.
But neither of them had to deal with COVID either, or the
but the whole league, that's the whole fucking universe has had to deal with COVID. I didn't get to see one of my kids for fucking 8 weeks because of COVID.
But I'm just saying that it's fairly unprecedented what's happened over the last 2 years, and all football clubs have had to deal with. Some have dealt with it better than others, but some have got deeper pockets and the better, So look, if we, I think if people here's the next question, right? We want to move away from Gary Rowett. Who do we like? Who is in the word, in the comments that are coming up down there? Who is going to give us our Millwall back?
Mate, there is again. This is the thing. We go, who'd want the job? There is hundreds of managers. It's a notorious club, 6 miles from central London. They'd be queuing up to take over. Stephen Reed is one name I'll throw straight at you.
I've got a list of names here that I decided to chuck into the.
You said you didn't do no prep, you lying bastard.
No. It's just I knew the question was coming, and it's a very.
I've got 3, so I'll follow this up. I will pitch in with this. Yeah, go on, Kenny.
I've got a very, very frustrating thing. And I think it's a bit of a whitewash when people turn around and go, "What are you going to have instead?" Then
that's just like saying, "Well, if you're going to die, but you got to cut your arms and legs off," you go, "Well, no, it's much just die then." Like you cut the fucking leg off, you start again, don't you? You stay alive.
Exactly. And my answer to that is anyone other than Rowett. Put Robbo in, for instance, for the rest of the season, or put Fitzgerald in for the rest of the season. Whatever it is, if we're looking like we're not going to go up and we're not going to go down, does anybody remember the Leeds game with Adam Barrett in charge? Just after when Neil Harris went. The type of football that we played was so different. Just let the boys express themselves for the rest of the season, and we'll work after that. But I'm going to go straight away. I'll go Alex Neil, Tony Pulis, Chris Shute, Neil Lennon, Mark Hughes, Gary Monk, Neil Warnock, Paul Lambert, Hugh Rosler, Roy Keane.
What was his pension?
No, but I'm just saying Kevin Muscat, Stephen Reed, Sam Allardyce, Michael Flynn, Paul Tisdale, Keith Hill. Right, those are just a small list of managers currently that could manage in the Championship and are free agents.
I would. Do you know who we agree on there? Houghton and Alex Neil. I think Alex Neil might be quite a good because like he was at Preston, wasn't he, for a long while? He's the kind of individual, and I mean, I would love Houghton to come down here. I'm not sure who'd fancied it currently, but I don't know. Woodgate, maybe, I don't know. Look, I agree. What we've got to understand is if you do that, we're going to go through another 2 sets of transfer windows when we're going to be rebuilding, and we're going to be trying to align into that.
This is why now's a perfect time to get rid of him, mate. We ain't going up, we ain't going down. We've got youth players there. If you let Rowett spend, mate, if they're thinking if Rowett doesn't do anything in the next 6 games, they're going to sack him, they'd be fucking mad to spend money. And maybe I'm thinking now that's why we haven't. Sorry, I'm sorry to do this to you before you carry on. But if people donate, I have to read out the comment.
No, go ahead, mate.
So Northern Migration, thank you very much for your donation. Oh. Anyway, wait, what was you saying?
I love you, H. I think you're a great bloke.
Listen, H said to me today, right, listen, we're gonna do the debate, and it needs to be a debate for a good of the viewers. So it's only right we show both sides of the coin, which is absolutely spot on. I said that is absolutely fine, as long as you genuinely do believe he should still be in a job. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it. You said no. There's got to be something going on upstairs where people within the club are agreeing with what H is saying. Otherwise, he would be gone, wouldn't he?
I think John Berylson is risk averse, and that's why I think Rowett's still in the job. And I think Rowett's risk averse as well. I think they're 2 quite similar people. And when you get that, bearing in mind there's a lot of other Fruit Loop stuff going on around the club. I mentioned, obviously, the redevelopment and all that stuff. That's going to be taking JB's attention off things. Maybe what he...
Steve Morrison's in for it.
Love that. I love that. On you at Cardiff now, Steve-O. Borudash, bit of Welsh there. Maybe he does, like, genuinely, it's a really good point, Dan. Maybe he wants to keep things really boring, plain and simple on the pitch till the end of the season, and then he might reassess it then. I mean, like I said, I think all of this, I genuinely think all of this discussion is by the by, because I don't think he's going to Oh, I love that, Alex Ray. Yes, Mike.
I think we can all. I mean, for me,
by the end of
I believe that an ex-Millwall person needs to be a manager. I think it's a little bit like England. I don't believe you can have foreign England managers. I think it's similar with Millwall. I think you're best off having someone who's played for the club and gets it, or has got some sort of affiliation with it. So that does limit it for me. But
until you get to a point like Neil Harris did, where he tactically wasn't astute to take us up a gear. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and look, before everyone like says I'm double West Ham, you know, the man's an absolute legend, okay? But genuinely, there was a lot of frustration around the time just before he resigned over the fact that, you know, we're traveling to places like Blackpool, we're traveling to places like Luton, and, you know, he maybe didn't have the tactical nous to take us to the next level. Now, I don't know, Kenny, what do you think? Like, because me and Dan have spoken about that quite a bit. Did you agree with me, or do you think, again, I should just go to West Ham?
You know, you have to say the question again. Sorry, what was the question?
Like, do you agree with me that Neil Harris came to a dead end with tactical development?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of stuff on the internet about, you know, bring Neil Harris back and, you know, all of this sort of stuff. I agree with you. I think that he took the club as far as he could go, and as I previously said, he realised when it was time to go. The only thing that I would have with Kevin Mazza ain't in prison yet. The only thing I would have is if, for instance, Rowett was to go, be sacked, whatever, I would have Harris in for the rest of the season, but I would probably only want him in for the rest of the season.
I think it might come to that. I think that's the only way he would come back if they did ask him. I think he'd come in and just be a triple hero, player, all-time top scorer, manager, promotion. It's a fucking good cut. I mean, you got to say, you'd only look back on Harris with fond memories.
Oh.
Yeah. And because he walked at the right time, yes. So all that sticks out in your memories now is the promotion and fucking unbelievable cup matches.
Yep. Yeah.
He's got dignity. Gary Rowett'S got no fucking shame or dignity.
Yeah, this is the thing is when after 3 years of a Gary Rowett tenure, you know, in 5 years' time when we're talking about something else, we're probably still moaning about something. I definitely will be. But when you look back at it in 5 years' time, what will you remember from the Gary Rowett era?
Forest away. I mean, that's it for me.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And you know, and that was it. And do you know what? That's the worst thing that ever happened for us as Millwall is for him to get a 3-0 win.
Ken, I think me and you were separated at birth, mate, because in my notes earlier, I wrote this down. I've not brought it up yet. I've just so much going on. It's been a really good debate. People were saying it. Name me, anyone in the comments, name me 3 really exciting wins under Gary Rowett in 3 years he's been manager, whatever he's been manager for. Name me some really 3 exciting games. You can say the Birmingham one the other week. I'll take that.
Sheffield Wednesday at home.
See, the Sheffield, I mean, my argument would be some big wins we've had at home, Sheffield Wednesday, Bristol City, and
that makes
someone else, Huddersfield. They were all end of season nothing games, in my opinion.
Preston away when he wasn't in charge. I'll shut up.
You said that and then realised halfway through. Tell me a time when you've gone, do you know what? In his realm, I fucking enjoyed that today. I really enjoyed that. What a fucking guy Rowett is. Thank you very much.
I think there was I could probably say one game, and I think that was an end of the season game. It was, I think we won 3-1. It might have even been 4-1. I remember Conor Mahoney got 2 assists. It might have been against Huddersfield. Yeah, end of the season.
I mean, by the way, boys, you two did both agree on one thing earlier, and I didn't agree with it, both of you, and that's Houghton. And everyone's saying he's too defensive as well.
Really?
It's a difficult, let's not make no bones about it. It's a very difficult job to come in and do, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't, I mean, I'm not saying I'm for him. What I'm saying is that he's available. So like the argument of, there's no more argument now. Who's going to replace him? I mean, I went online and just looked at 3 managers that aren't working at the moment that have worked within the Championship and League One, and there was about 50 names, right? So when you're, you know, up in the board and you're looking, you start ciphering through them. Me personally, I would go, is it Michael Flynn or Tisdale? I think that they've done okay. I think that they'd be a fresh face in the Championship, and would be interesting to give them a go.
Well, Joe O'Mara's going to get sacked from Nice TV as well. He completely agrees with everything you're saying. I think, again, what I said 2 minutes ago, as a Millwall manager, okay, like I said with the England manager, I don't think Millwall, you're going, oh, yeah, we need to start popping the ball and getting into the top division. And I did say under Harris, it was negative, boring hoofball. However, I can take, sometimes it's a case of careful what you wish for, because I can take the lack of football, but what I can't take is the lack of desire and aggression and just the Millwallness of it all. I just can't take that. It's just grinding me down.
Cliftonveld doesn't have that aggression. Like his tackles, he would smash his nan for a gyro check, mate. He's out of control, that guy, some days.
Apologies to Grandma Cliftonveld. Yeah, but he was just kicking people. He wasn't on Saturday. He was so bad.
Mate, yeah, but he's hardly. But I agree with you. I don't understand what.
No, I don't get why.
That's half the reason why he's not in the squad. Probably, most of the time he's not in the team.
Take that fucker with you as well. We're on the subject. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I think we said at the beginning of the season, I had Cliftonveld as one of our best players, but definitely the first 5 games of the season, I remember turning around to you, Dan, at QPR and turning and going, well, we got a player here.
Yeah,
like he was all over the place.
100%.
And and all of a sudden it's all been stopped. And he looks slow now. He looks old. He looks slow and old.
This is the thing. This is the thing with Cliftonveld, Ken. Sorry. This is what I'm saying about Ben Thompson. Some people go, you're fucking mad. Ben Thompson's like Cliftonveld, but just 6 years younger and a Mill fan. Cliftonveld's probably going to end up out of a contract at the end of the season. So you're going to play one of them. You might as well play someone with a bit of energy because he is looking really, really old, isn't he?
Mm.
But here you go. H
about Bart as well.
Yeah,
that's making me look stupid.
No, do you know what? Bart's a great shot stopper, but I've got it on good authority that George Long's a fucking good goalkeeper. Like, looks really strong in training and stuff. So he'll be the replacement. But yeah, Bart's been superb shot stopper. You can't knock it. Chris Rackham, H, is spot on, level-headed and dealing with our reality. We are a small club with average players and no money. So are we being unrealistic? Me, Kenny, and 308 of the 309 people in the chat. But I don't want a lot. I just want fucking endeavour and a bit of fight. And
let's be honest though. We're not a small club, right? We're not a small club. We are an established Championship side. A small club is the likes of, I don't know, Tranmere Rovers, right? Someone like that, right?
Yeah, not you.
What was the other one? What was the other one? We've got no money. Well, we're apparently bidding 1.5 million for an unknown. We can't have that, not a lot of money. We've got some money, and we could dive into certain markets and try and find a gem with a lot less than 1.5 million. And that's what we're asking for. And this is the argument that we're having. I don't want a £5 million striker turn up at Millwall, because that's what's happened with Afobe, right?
Dude, that can fucking happen.
Yeah, and it's nothing. What I want is another Ben Thompson, for instance. Someone that can get themselves about, put effort in, they leave their shirt on a pitch. And if we lose games, but we've given it our all, we've created opportunities, we just haven't finished them, right? Then I'm happy with that, kind of, right? But there's something that we can step on.
And we lose every game. We go down with no points, but playing entertaining football. Well, I'm not going to do that because the manager's going to be gone after 10, 15 games. The reality
it's not working playing shit football, is it? Like, we're playing. We
were 1 point. We were 3 points off the playoffs.
We was
injuries.
Yeah, but I was 16 once. I'm not going to be it again.
I know, but we're both making the same point on different sides. I know what you're saying. Yes, it would be nice to have some entertaining football again. I completely agree with you, because doing a round trip from down here, 550-mile round trip and having to stay at my old dears because there are no trains back to Kent, is not an ideal situation. Okay, especially when you're losing 1-0 and it's the most diabolical game of football you've ever seen. You need to go to Colombia and come back with suitcases full of narcotics of the highest strength to get through any more of those journeys. But unfortunately, we've got Blackburn away in a couple of weeks. So, blimey, where's my ticket to Bogota? But like I said, by then, Rout will be gone anyway. So this will all be gone.
M1985, thanks for the donation, mate. Super chats are open. You can donate to the channel if you want to. If you don't want to, absolutely not a drama, but please at least subscribe. H is talking sense. Rowett'S needs to be given next summer to keep rebuilding. COVID meant we couldn't get players out and get in. Look at Bod. Nobody wanted him. That's because he's shit. So no budget was less.
Scored.
Do we want to be Watford?
Scored at the weekend. Yes.
And then Steve Leeds comes in with... Remember, Rowett'S said about making the average age of the squad lower, then brings in Keith, Evans, Malone, and Aphobia. Of course, all of those he's managed before. See, I think he's, on that note, what Steve just said, I think he says the right things. I think he says what you want him to hear, but he don't actually deliver those things, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, I watched his interview after the Blackpool game, and I think I actually said in my post-match analysis, this is what he's going to say. And you know, he did. He turned around. He said, you know, we didn't show enough fight. I think we were all right, you know, for spells in the game, you know, and all that sort of stuff. But he also still seems to think that he creates opportunities, and that's the worrying thing for me. And I do get his way of thinking. I totally get it. And I wish it worked for him. The problem is it doesn't. Whether that's lack of motivation, whether we have the players on the pitch that can't do what he's asking us to do. Yeah, and that's a fair argument to have. However, my argument would be if they can't do what you're asking them to do, then you're going to have to change what you're asking them to do if you can't make them do it. And that is the difference between an average manager and a good manager. Knowing
what you want to try and play away, but realise that isn't working. I know H will say 3 points of the playoffs, but we didn't get there. And that's when the league at the start is doing that as well. When you can jump 5 places, you know, time will always even it out.
And we had those players in. It's like I said, and my main last time we were talking about can we make the playoffs, and I said yes, but it's dependent on the next 2 results. Well, it's quite clear now, no, and also because we've lost a lot of those players. Like we are now going to be swimming in mid-table, I think, and you know, at very best. I mean, after by the end of February, we're going to be towards the bottom of the table. I think I can't see it being any other way, which is another reason why I'd be Rowett in, because I think we need to get the run of terrible games out of the way, get him sacked, and then the new manager can come in and hopefully get a bit of momentum through some games that will be a bit easier. That might sound mad, but that's genuinely part of my thinking.
I've left that comment on the screen for ages because Stephen Reed is one that interests me. I just want to give out a shout to Mark Beard as well, because he's been on the show. Fucking top man, mate of mine. He did really well at the academy for Brighton, took them to semi-finals. Really good manager. Went to Stockport briefly as assistant. Now he's got the job at Dorking Wanderers. I know it's non-league, but they are absolutely flying.
They're in my brother's league. Yeah,
your brother plays with Tunbridge Angels, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
I see him against Maidstone just after Christmas.
See, that was his. That was a derby game, and he used to play for Maidstone. So yeah, there's a bit of ag there.
Yeah,
they lost 4-0, didn't they, as well?
Yeah, they got smashed.
Was it 1-0?
Yeah. He's a centre back as well.
Right. So in the comments, right, I'm going to scroll right down to the comments now. Right, you boys can't see them over. Can you boys see them? The viewers can. Right, so from Jack Kavanagh below, if you want to have your say on anything that's been said or something that hasn't been said, and direct it at either one of us or all 3 of us, then start putting them in the comments and I'll start reading them out and we can discuss the comments, yeah? Sound good, boys? We still all right? We've been going in an hour. Where the fuck's that happened?
Yeah, that's good, yeah. I think
it is good. It is good.
It's a good
question.
If Ojo and Bradshaw were fit, would we have beaten Blackpool? We'd have had a better shout. So it's really hard to say, isn't it? But I think.
Hang on, where's that? Oh, here we go. We'll start with Dave Turner then. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Well, go on, I think yes. I didn't think Blackpool looked particularly amazing. I think the biggest problem for me against Blackpool was that some of the players that we've come to rely on, like Murray Wallace, didn't have a good game. Malone got absolutely boshed down that right-hand side. We looked at 6s and 4s at the back, and obviously our midfield was just looked like it never played together because it hadn't. So if you stuck Ojo in there, it's just a bit more of a headache for their back, and it could have done something. So maybe I think we probably would at least got a point.
Ken?
Yeah, I mean, I would say no, and that's nothing against Ojo or Bradshaw. I think that they would immensely improve our team in ways of talent, chemistry, etc. Like H is saying, but again, because of the way that we set up, like I said, I don't think it matters who we would have had in that side. I think they overrun us in the midfield. That bowler, he won't be with them for long.
Forrest, I think.
Yeah, already linked. Yeah.
So I'm going to give Rowett praise for one thing, and I'm going to hammer him for another here in this, because I understand that he has been unlucky, and as I said, especially with low knees we've got in. I'm talking about Ojo. I'm talking about Ken Zahor. I'm talking about, because I thought Zahor was probably could be fun. Troy Parrott was touted as something big for different reasons that didn't work out. There's someone else that I can't think of as well, but so I accept that. I accept that he come to the club. Ojo, he got COVID after one game, finding his feet, getting back fit. Finally started being played in a 10 because Rowett doesn't play a 10. So I had a little dig at Rowett when he started playing Ojo in a position that we need a player in, and that Ojo is strong, and he started playing well. However, it's only 3 games. So I can't get too excited about Ojo. However, Tom Bradshaw sat at the club and didn't get a kick under Gary Rowett for about a year and a half.
He was injured though when he first signed.
No, he came back fit, and he scored the last game that Neil Harris left. Then he scored away at Brentford. Yeah, and he scored 2 goals at home against Leeds. And by this point, Rowett had the job. Rowett then dropped him and Conor Mahoney and pretty much Ben Thompson out. Didn't want him around it. At which point, Bradshaw sat on the bench for about a year and a half. Bavardson was getting picked over him. Smith was getting picked over him. Mason Bennett, Jed Wallace were all getting picked up front instead of him. And I always said, if you play 2 strikers and give Bradshaw service, he'll score goals. He finally puts him in because he completely run out of ideas and playing everyone else. And then Bradshaw got injured, unfortunately for him. So, again, unlucky on Gary Rowett's part. But he sat there for a long time unused. But I do feel if we had them 2 against... I mean, the worst part for me wasn't even the defending Saturday. It wasn't even the lack of players other than Mitchell and McNamara being able to complete 5-yard passes. It was what he did with those 3. He played 3 CDMs. And I felt like they was all sitting back. But maybe I'm wrong.
But the biggest problem as well, when we were talking about playing 3 CDMs, and H, you said earlier that it was Evans that was pushing forward more.
It felt to me like on the right-hand side, yeah.
I mean, and he was playing on the right-hand side, yeah, I've definitely noticed that. But this is the big problem with his management, is surely you'd have Billy Mitchell pushing on more.
Yeah, I see your point. I mean, I'd only counter that with saying he played Mitchell in the position he's been playing all season. So maybe that. But I do, mate. I'll take your point. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But again, like he's risk averse, isn't he? So that's it. Steve Morrison, I think it's a great idea because that was the Preston game.
Yeah. Do you honestly think that's a good idea?
Like I said, get the next 7 games out of the way. After Blackburn away, he can go back to the Midlands, back to Burton or wherever, and then we can all move on with our lives.
I think I like the idea of keeping it in-house.
Till the end of the season, at least. Alex Pearce.
Yeah, although Pearce, I'm not sure for me. Ken?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Listen, in my opinion, Alex Pearce has been at the club for probably a year too long. He's been keeping a seat warm for somebody else in that changing room. I appreciate he's helped us out the last couple of games, but he looked awful. He looked so slow. The Palace game, I mean, although I felt like he'd done all right, he was one slip or turn away from letting him in. Scared them.
As manager, he wouldn't have to be playing, Ken,
no,
would he?
True, yeah, true. Sorry, I was going on a little bit there. But
maybe the job keeps him out of the way. Keeps him out of
trouble. As for manager, look, he's apparently a cheerleader in the changing rooms. What we need is a proper boss, a proper manager, and that's not him. even for the end of the season.
It is a niche job. I do get that.
Barrett can go as well.
Yeah,
People
were saying in the comments earlier, it's not on the screen now, but we've got a lot of defensive coaches. But ultimately, to me, that boils down to right. This is a good one. Cold Blow Lane 1885. What formation would you play, and do you think you should change the formation all the time? Right. So this is what I'm going to say. First, new school football. Back in the day, you had fucking 11 players and 2 subs, and then it went to 3 subs. And those players played on shit pitches in shit conditions, 50 games a season. Granted, 90% of them are now in wheelchairs, but for me, this new age football, this squad rotation, it's all too much. And another criticism I've got of Gary Rowett is he's a little bit Neil Holloway-esque, as in you go into a game with a game plan, right? He never changes his game plan. Now, I don't mind not really ever changing the formation, but the game plan for him always stays the same. Defend, consolidate, and we'll have a little go. Hopefully they haven't scored. We'll have a go for 15 minutes and try and nick something. If they have scored, then what we nick's going to be an equaliser. He changes formation so many times during a game and makes so many substitutions that things aren't going right, are they? If you go into a game and go, not Neil Harris did. I know a lot of the time it's at lower level. Right, 4-4-2, that's how we're playing, and we get a lot of results. Again, it was League One granted, but with Rowett, he is doing a Holloway, mate. He's fucking taking 2 off, putting 3 up there, 1 back. We changed formation 3 or 4 times, which means plan A clearly doesn't work. So he tries plan B, he tries plan C, he tries plan D. But then when he goes back to next Saturday, he'll start off again with plan A. So for me, I wouldn't play 3 at the back. I'll play a flat back 4. We absolutely have to play a 10. Absolutely. 2 central midfielders and a 10. Because otherwise we're too detached from the strikers and we need 2 up front. Wing back, Scott Malone can't play wing back because he gets too exposed. So for me, a flat back 4, 2 central midfielders, and then 2 wide men and 2 up front probably. Not really a 4-4-2. I'd even go with a 4-5-1, but for me, this 3 at the back doesn't work. And we need, for me, the biggest thing we have to have, which we didn't on Saturday, but we did against Bristol City, and we did create a lot of chances, is a 10. We scored 2 goals that day. Ken, what would you play formation-wise? Well, I know, but go on and tell them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I would go with the old-fashioned, probably say like a 4-4-1-1. The reason why is because you're gonna get overloaded sometimes in the midfield if you're gonna play, say, like that sort of formation, flat formation. So the reason why I say 4-4-1-1 is I think they can be slightly defensive with a midfielder dropping, but then still having your 2 midfielders. And I think that we need to utilise the wings. When we was most attacking were the days when you had, sometimes it weren't even Jed, it was Marlon and Fred on the right. You remember that? That type of, and that was 4-4-2. And we was always constantly flying down the line, getting balls into the box. And we were scoring goals that way. And I know sometimes it's not that pretty, but it's still effective. And that's the way I'd go.
H?
Do we have the same personnel that Rowett had on Saturday?
No. Take into account the whole squad, what we've got. Swipesy's been saying this all week on my social posts. It's just every post, he's not even been about it, but he's had enough. I
would do, if we were at home, I'd do something like 4-2-4 with those players up the top playing as wingers coming up and trying to build, it's like up and down, like Bennett on one side, Mahoney on the other, Afobe and Bradshaw in the middle, Billy Mitchell and I would say George Saville in the centre, and then we probably need to do something with Muzzer, Murray Wallace on the left, but I'd have obviously Danny Mack at the moment, Coops and Hutch at the back. But if Ballard was back and we're saying that Ballard was in the side, I'll stick Ballard in there. And I think the one weak link there would be someone like would be Murray Wallace maybe on the left, but he can do a job every now and then, and I'd have that at home and away from home. I'd set up probably in a 4-5-1 with some quick players that we could hit him on the break there, and I would be more defensively minded, and I think people actually wouldn't have minded us setting up like we did at Blackpool if we were more attacking at home. I don't know. That's what I think people get most frustrated about is that when we're at home, we set up like Mark McGee did against Preston all those years ago. We lost 1-0, he lost his job, which is what could happen this time next week, boys.
I just don't think we've got any attributes of a professional football team. Honestly, I look at them and I think sometimes I might think Jeremy Beadle would jump out and go, hey, I'm only fucking around. He's your real team. We've got no pace. We've got no ideas going forward. Well, we can't string like passes together. I'm not. Maybe I'm being because this was the Blackpool game and the last couple.
I was going to say you're right, but game. Yeah, I mean, look, I you know, Blackpool was bad.
It's worse than Huddersfield, and on that basis, I won't be going to Fulham. I won't be going to Blackburn away. I won't be going to Stoke away. I might go Reading. I will go Luton. I'm done with it, honestly. Ken, you ain't been since Huddersfield. Me and you went there, have you?
Yeah, I haven't been since Huddersfield away. It's just, I mean, there's been a couple of other reasons why as well, but one of the main reasons is just all season we've watched this shower of shit, and you know, like I say, I work hard all week. I pay my money. I've got 5 kids that I was taking to football, and yeah, it was a lot of money, a lot of effort, etc., etc. And I just don't want to. I don't want to waste my time, essentially, especially when I can just watch it on the telly, because I'm not getting any type of experience from it anymore. I'm not getting the joys, and I'm not getting.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't want to. Even when I watch us now on the telly, if we score, I don't even jump up and celebrate. You know, that's the way it's got me. So.
What you're saying there, mate, is spot on. You're getting absolutely no sort of experience out of it. I go to cinema quite a lot because I do that sort of thing for work. I enjoy it. I go there, I pay my money, and I walk out, usually full up a fucking Haribo to the brim and nachos, and I've had a good time.
Yeah.
I'm not having any sort of time at Millwall. I actually don't want to go at the minute. And Blackpool was a fucking nightmare, mate. I spent 350 quid on trains, hotel. And I'm thinking I could have fucking gone on holiday for that. And what have I taken away from that? Just fucking hate, really, for the manager. But does it run deeper than the manager? Tommy's got a good question. Do we have to question the board? Are they pushing Rowett enough? Or are they content with mediocrity? H, you'll be good for this one.
Well, I think what I mentioned earlier.
No, me and you watch the games. H knows a little bit more and delves a little bit more into the running of day-to-day at the club, don't you? So you...
Well, I think to a certain extent, yes. Like I said, there's so much other stuff going on around the football club this season that, you know, I think that they probably are looking at. Certainly, John Berylson, like what he really wants is a safe place to put some of his money, so he doesn't have to pay tax on it. And he's also waiting for the regeneration of the area so that he might be able to cash in and make a bit of money there as well. If my cynic brain was working. Now, look, I'm not digging the man out because he's pumped so much money into the football club that
I love him.
Here, right? We want a boring owner. That's what we want. We don't want the circuses that have happened elsewhere because, you know, oh, geez, can you imagine if someone came and tried to stitch us up? I mean, they would never be able to rest their head anywhere in any part of the world. They would get got, right? That's the end of that. So I think there is a little bit of the fact that they're like, do you know what? We're looking at the table, you know, okay, we've got some injury issues. We can, you know, if I'm sitting there in the CEO's position, I'm like, okay, hang on a second. We're going to stay in the championship, more than likely. When you look, we're like 13 points off. We're about to go on a bad run of games. Okay, but we got injuries, so we can blame the injuries for that bad run of games. We can keep Gary in and just keep giving him, like spoon feeding him like a little dog, a little munchie. Or here's £1.5 million bid for this. Here's £1.5 million bid for this other thing. Bearing in mind, you know, they bought in Ryan Leonard for what, 1.2 was it? What he came in for? And I really,
1.25, I think, yes. Bradshaw 1.2, and then not even the week later, is Leonard 1.25.
You know, so I think that potentially, I think they probably are quite content with like a bit of mediocrity somewhere because they know that everywhere else, you know, there's a headline every other week and there's this, that, and the other. You know, there's
you've got to have it. You're right. You're saying you've got to have some sort of stability, haven't you? If they give us fans everything we fucking ask for, we'd probably be out of business by now.
And I would say, I think as well, you know, John Berylson has just written off how much, £21 million over the last 3 seasons or something, or whatever it was in terms of our losses over the last couple of years. I don't know. I was trying to look this up. Maybe one of you two lads knows this. How long Rowett'S got left on his contract? But if you're sacking out, you have to.
Steve Lees will know. In the comments.
Yeah. It will test. And if he has to pay him off, I mean, I think what they're thinking is let's just keep it till the end of the season, and then do the old Kenny Jackett, part by mutual consent, and we can start his course. And the only thing I would say, I think the summer's a better time because the transfer market is a lot more active in the summer. I think January is always a problem.
This is a good one. To all three of you, is John Terry a man you would take as manager? Good experience with Villa and a young and upcoming manager, and could pull the strings of Chelsea for some loan or permanent deals. I will go first, and then I'll go to Kenny, and I'm going to keep it short. I would absolutely take John Terry as our manager all day long. End of discussion. Ken?
Yeah, just for the record, we're now 11 points off the relegation, just so you know. Peterborough winning 2-0.
What's happened? Peterborough winning 2-0?
Yeah, away to Birmingham, yeah. Listen, I am open to any manager. Like I'm open to any manager. So I feel like we've given Gary Rowett his chance, and I feel like it's not worked out for him, or won't work out for him in the future. So if you told me John Terry was coming, I'm neither yes or no. I don't have the critique of managers or understand how they play until they get in through that door, work on our players, and decide for themselves how the best way to play is. So I'd be open to giving John Terry, the opportunity to manage our team, but I wouldn't want to turn around and say, yeah, I think he'll be brilliant. That's just my opinion.
I agree. H?
No, he's no good Chelsea nonce, mate. I don't want him anywhere. And, also no one would be able to bring their wives to the game, would they?
Right? A good excuse not to bring their wives to the game, H.
Well, I mean, that's probably not a bad thing. John Terry, I mean, he's got that edge to him, hasn't he? Where you feel like he could kind of slot in, a bit like Dennis Wise could kind of slot in. But there were a lot of people that never accepted Dennis Wise because he was Chelsea, and I think you'd get the same with him. I also think money would be a massive issue with him. I personally, I don't want him near the football club, but that's more of a rivalry Chelsea Millwall thing. That's probably a bit shallow, but I don't care.
There's a few as well, like some of them, not that one. Sorry, he was that one. Ranieri. Some we have to be realistic with. People are pointing to.
It'll be funny. He's won the Premier League. Yeah, why not? I'd prefer Ranieri.
He got sacked today, didn't he? Exactly. Yes, it's a bit unrealistic, some of them. But John Terry, I think that, I wouldn't mind it. But you're right, H. I think that the wages that he would want would be fucking probably 3 times on what any of our players are on. So it's
he's also not potentially the type of person that the football club are looking for in terms of their image at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not sure if he's the right individual. I don't know.
Steve Lee says Bradshaw is 4th in the championship with minutes per goal of 132 minutes per goal. Only Mitrovic, Brereton, Diaz, and Godden, I don't even know who he plays for. Who's he play for? Godden have a better rate. Rowett preferred Bodvarsson for all that time. There you go. Can't argue with it. Get Razor Ruddock, says John Digover. I don't know about that, John. Fucking hell. There's been a donation. I'm trying to find that, but I can't find it. But I will keep going until I do find it. Someone's agreeing with me. I don't know what that's about, but probably. How about Duncan Ferguson as manager again? He's manager of Everton, isn't he? So he's not going to leave there to come there to us. Someone else is saying Ranieri as well. Right. Michael Heisman says Bury and Burke have to start. Now that is going to lead me on to a graphic I've already showed twice by mistake. One I put on social media in the week. How the fuck do we approach this West Bromwich Albion game on Saturday? These are our next 6 fixtures. If you are late to the stream and you didn't see it earlier, Millwall open to West Brom. I mean, the one saving grace we've got here is, well, it's not really saving grace, is it? We've got 4 out of our next 6 at home. Preston at home midweek, bumper crowd for that one. Fulham away, Nil incoming. Cardiff at home, Steve Morrison likely to come back and haunt us. QPR at home, and then Blackburn away. So we've got West Brom at home on Saturday. On Sunday morning, I was so bothered by it all, waiting for my train at Blackpool, that I thought, of the player, and by the way, some people don't read my social media posts and it really fucks me off. Actually, read the post before you start commenting. Not you lot, obviously. Of the players we currently have fit and available, this is the team that I would start at home to West Brom. Now, we've already discussed Mediocrity isn't our favourite person. Well, he's our favourite person, but he's not a great player, is he? So again, some of these players are in there because there is no one else. But this is the team that I would go with against West Brom on Saturday. Bolkowski in goal, flat back four, Murray Wallace, Jake Cooper, Sean Hutchinson, Danny Mack. Again, other than Danny Mack, 3 of those back 4 haven't been great. But unfortunately, as I said, Ballard out injured. Scott Malone's been worse than Murray Wallace. Cooper and Hutchinson just need to get back to defending because their distribution's not been great. Then in the midfield, I'd have Billy Mitchell and Ben Thompson. Not because I think Ben Thompson's the greatest player in the world, but I know he's on the pitch. We've had 4 straight defeats, and what we're doing isn't working. I don't know how George Evans is a professional footballer. George Saville isn't fit. And Keith DeBelde, as I discussed earlier, is just an older version of Thompson now. And that's not down to him. That's because Rowett let him rot on the bench for absolutely no reason. Then I would put Tyler Bury on the left, Conor Mahoney on the right. And I know Conor Mahoney ain't played a lot of games, but again, he's got talent. He can unlock doors. He's composed in and around the box. Burke in a 10. And up front, by default, Mediocrity. Now, I would go with that team because I strongly believe there's a strong possibility that West Brom will beat us. If we sit back, West Brom will beat us. So change something up and actually fucking go for the jugular. And if the players do gas out at 60 minutes, then you can start making substitutes. I've taken Mason Bennett out of there as well. Not because I know he fractured his fingernail or whatever he's fucking done this week, but I've just had enough of him on that basis. So that's the team I'll go with against West Brom. Boys, what are you saying about this side? Ken?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely up for changing something. I'm not saying that I think it would work. However, it is something different, and it is a case of going, right, well, let's give it a go.
Yeah. If you showed me that team a month ago, I'd have said you was fucking mad.
Yeah, and
I've had enough of it. I've fucking had enough. And if we go out and fall on my sword, I'll say I was wrong, but the players give it everything. We had to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thought process with that team. The problem is all I want is the team that he picked, for instance, on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was looking at some of the comments. Carry on. Sorry.
I can't see it. I can't see. Is it? Are they turned from you onto me now?
No, but it's just some. Don't worry. Sorry.
Go on, Ken.
Carry on, Ken.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think that it's about giving it a go. If you give it a go and then, like you say, you fall on your sword, then you fall on your sword. But at least we've given it a go, and at least Gary Rowett then has an argument, because at the moment he doesn't, in my opinion. But Dan, I'm happy with the team that he started on Saturday. What I'm not happy with is what they're being told to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, Keith DeBelde and Evans, that's what's killed me more than anything. As much as Sean Hutchinson and Murray Wallace and Jake Cooper just kept passing the ball off to the linesman from 5 yards under no pressure, the thing that's done me about that is we had 3 in midfield and I went, all right, well, he's going to let Mitchell and he's going to let Evans bomb on for once. Because, you know, one thing about Evans is he can score a goal. Scored a good goal against Burnham. He scored away at Luton. He can actually score goals if allowed to bomb on, but none of them were allowed.
Well, they didn't get him the ball, though, did they? I mean, I feel like I've got to try and defend.
That's because they were standing behind Bolkowski for half the first half.
Well, I mean, look, the distribution from the boys at the back was absolutely shocking, and there was no link play. It looked like what it was, a patched up team from start to finish. It looked like the patterns of play, as my mate quite rightly, Millwall Halfway Line on Twitter, quite rightly said, that it looked like a team that had no patterns of play. We didn't have any patterns of play. Why? Because that team had never played together.
We never do have any patterns of play.
That's it. You know, but we've had that all season. Sorry, Dan, you want me to have a quick look? Look, I love the.
Well, look, sorry, just wind it back then to Blackpool. You're saying we didn't have our side out. Who in that side doesn't usually play regularly?
Well, Cliftonveld hasn't been, has he?
Okay, I'll take Cliftonveld, yeah.
Mitchell would be
Other
back.
than
Bennett
that,
would be playing.
Who?
Bennett wouldn't be playing.
Well, he was a Rowett signing. He would be playing if he could stay fit. Because Rowett likes him.
No, hold up. If you put back into that, right, you've got to stick in there. I think you'd keep in Mitch, wouldn't you? He's been playing quite regularly. You've got Wallace to go back in there. I think you've got Ballard to go in there instead of Cooper. Tom Bradshaw to go up front instead of Bennett. You've got and for me, you've got George Saville, but I'd have him kicking on instead of Evans, right?
The thing is, you've got four of that front five, other than Billy Mitchell, are all Gary Rowett signings.
Put Ojo on there.
They're all Gary Rowett signings. 4 of that front 5 are Gary Rowett signings.
Oh, I didn't say signings were any good, did I?
True. Right, so get back to West Brom then. There you go. What would you do on Saturday? What do you think? I'm a lunatic to put that team up? I think, I'll be honest, a month ago, I probably would have said the same. What the fuck are you about, mate?
Dan, I like what you've done there. My questions would be, is Bury fit enough? Is Burke fit enough? Though my first 2 questions and questions only. Otherwise, I like what you've done there. And actually,
if they're not, why not play them for an hour? Why not play them for an hour and then take them off?
Geezer, I don't know. But like I said, you've also got to be a bit careful with some of your younger players that are coming back. We're playing a team that's right up there. A couple of bad games and Tyler Bury's head could go. Right? I'm just saying that's one eventuality that could happen to young players. I'm not saying it will, but it could. I like what you've done with that team. I do like it. Okay.
I think the formation's spot on.
Instead of Tomo, well, yeah, it's almost what I said earlier, really, isn't it? 4-2-4. Anyway, look, instead of Tomo, I would potentially have Cliftonveld in there. If it was Cliftonveld from the beginning of the season, because he was class at the beginning of the season, or if we get George Saville back, late fitness test or whatever, I'd stick him in there and try and get him to play in a different role. And I do agree that Gary Rowett has not done what he needed to do with George Saville this season, because if you look at what he does for Northern Ireland, he's a much more effective player.
Well, he's talking about signing, we're looking at Ramseller, we're looking at Sibley, we're looking at Fleming. And someone made a very good point to me the other day that if these players came in, would he actually play them in the position they're supposed to play? Or would he try and restrict them? In which case, don't look to sign them.
Well, let's look. I can only believe what he said in his comments in the week about him in the Southern News, I think it was, or South London Press, about him wanting to bring in more attacking players who can play the ball on the ground, and that's got to start somewhere. And I think he has upgraded players in certain positions. Yes, he's brought in a lot of individuals. We've got to do something about Phoebe. It's interesting that we had the discussion last time. Should we sign him in the summer? Well, it's a definite no now, isn't it? If it weren't before.
Darren Cuddy, thank you so much. Good point as well for your donation, but really good point, mate. Rowett out. Feels like we've lost our identity. I mean, can this many of us be that wrong? It's nothing even against Rowett, really. I just don't. I've said from day one, I don't feel he gets the club, and we've just lost our identity. We've got no fight. We're the Lions, and we go into games cowering with our tails between our legs. It's just not the Millwall way, is it?
I think you've got to sometimes take this Millwall way with a pinch of salt, in my opinion. The reason why, because I like to think heavily of the Millwall way, because that's maybe all I've ever known as such. But at some point, Dan H, we are probably going to have to take ourselves away from the Millwall way, because that's unfortunately the way football's going.
True.
And it will be all sort of nice passing, and people are going to be there with their sticks and flags and shit. But like I say, that is the way, unfortunately, football is going. And at some point, maybe not in our lifetime, but at some point it will go like that. However, if what Gary Rowett was doing was working, we probably wouldn't have a problem with us losing our identity.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, isn't it? So, if we were doing tippy-tappy passing, creating opportunities, winning games, entertaining football, but we weren't doing it the Millwall way anymore, you wouldn't have anybody moaning.
No, I fully agree, mate. I fully agree. Darren Cuddy. Sorry, you donated. Steve, thanks, mate. Very much appreciated your donations. I might have missed a donation. If I ever do apologise to whoever's made it. And you can donate in the comments. If you don't want to, just subscribe. We're flying on the subscribers at the minute. H, question for you that I've just written down, and we can all discuss this. It's not on the screen, obviously. It's my own question. Should I write in the comments so I can do it properly now? The 3-year plan. Is he on course for it? Can he execute it?
Well, he's not on course.
You're going to say no because of COVID, aren't you?
What do you want me? But okay, but look, I'm not being funny.
No, I won't say the piss. I was being dead good.
I think this is probably quite a good analogy, all right? Because I work in education, but and Gary Rowett'S very much like a head teacher. Okay, he came in to take over a school that was actually doing all right, not being, it wasn't brilliant, it wasn't great, but what he had to do was come in that job interview and say, in 3 years, I want to try and take the club into the playoffs and for them to kick on. And then what came along, 3 months later, was the biggest health crisis this country's seen since 1919.
Yeah, but that wasn't limited to SE16. It was limited to the whole country.
Yeah, but some places are more equipped to deal with that kind of adversity than others. Okay,
I get that. We're a smaller club. I agree with that.
But at the same time, when I speak to my mate who does the betting on this, and he gives out points to the Den, a home advantage at the Den is 0.2 on top of every bet that you have on Millwall because of that home advantage. And he played how many games without a crowd at the Den? A lot. And so I think, so you either believe it. So if I'm John Berylson, okay, and I'm conservative about risk, which he clearly is, okay, because otherwise you'd be at some other Fruit Loop team. He is like, hang on, that 3-year plan has been kicked at least 18 months down the line. So how long has he got? Well, okay, well, he can come in, he can spend a little bit of money here, he can spend a little bit of money there. He was getting a team together that was only 3 points off the playoffs, and then he got all these injuries. So I think, yes, he probably, I think it probably is a freak. Now, he's got a 3-year plan. Now, can he execute it? I don't think he probably can. I think he doesn't realise how difficult it is to bring people into Southeast London with all the other competition out there and the other money flying around. I think he's having to reach further than he thought he'd have to reach. I think some of the players that he thought he could lean on, he's not able to lean on anymore because they've got older and they're not quite as effective as they once were. And he's now having to stretch outside of his comfort zone. He's also quite a young manager in terms of his age, isn't he? He's not someone that's been, he's been to a few clubs, but only since 2014. He's still learning. He's got to adapt. If he doesn't adapt, I agree with you, boys. He's gone, and he's gone by the end of February.
Yeah, well said, mate. And on this subject of all of that, Badger says, trouble is, Dan, you're not picking a team. And that's right. I can sit here and fucking work out formations, and we can say whatever we like. But on Saturday, I'm fully confident he will go 3 at the back. He will go 1 up front. Okay, maybe he pretty much has to go 1 up front, unless we get in Jordan Hugill or someone else before that point. As much as I hated him, I would look at the league table and say, I've said this on my videos, despite I can't stand the way he understands and executes football matches as a manager, you can't really argue with where we are and what we're doing. However, I think now you can. And I think, well, Ken, you always say how stubborn he is. Do you think now he will bite the bullet? I think if he puts Bury left, Burke right, and has a go, puts a flat back 4 against West Brom, and we have a go, and why shouldn't we? Because it nearly works against Palace, and they're not Palace's level. I'll hold my hands up and I'll say, look, you know what? At least he's tried to change something. At least we've had a go. But I'm pretty confident he'll go as close to that team as Blackpool as he can. He may take out Evans or probably Keith-Bell and put in Saville in a 10.
The big problem is, Dan, is that even if he's watching Lions TV right now and as a look at that lineup, right, and goes, that's what I'm going to do on Saturday, right? If we win, Gary Rowett is a tactical mastermind. To all Millwall fans.
Why do people think he is? I don't know.
Quickly it changes, right? Right. But I can tell you something. We'll then play Preston on a Tuesday night and he'll go back to it. And this is the problem with the stubbornness, is that he will sometimes, for a very small period of time, try something different or make us play a different way, etc. But we have absolutely we don't have any other outlets now. We've got Phobie. That's it. I would have kept Matt Smith. I know he weren't as effective as what he was, but still,
it's an option.
It's an option. We've got nothing now. How are we going to score goals? Who's going to score our goals? Because if Phobie can't score, Bennett has hurt his finger.
Burke is
proven. You've got to give him 5-10 games to bed.
How much pressure are we putting on him now, Burke?
Exactly.
Burke's got to be Burke because Jed's on the fucking missing, which we haven't discussed. Joe O'Mara's in the chat. He summed it up perfectly, Joe, the other day on his post match when he said he's had 22 days to sort this, and like you say, Ken, he's let. All right, Bavarsson weren't anywhere near it, but he's let Smith out the door with no plan. Well, he might have had a plan, but you physically do not say to Smith, you can go, but you got to fucking wait until someone's in. You still get out before the transfer window. Yeah. You still go to Salford. It's still done.
But you've also got to remember that
he's had time to stop this.
He has probably participated in at least 50% of our games, Matt Smith. So it's not like he's not like he's. Yeah. Exactly. He was a part of the squad. You definitely always on the bench, and say 50 to 60% of our games came on. Usually to be used to impact the game in a positive manner by trying to get an equaliser. So when you take that away, I mean, you can tell by his substitutions. On Saturday, what he did is he put on 2 wingers. That was all we had.
No, we got literally not. I mean, it's bad, isn't it? It is bad management, bad, not just of the team, but of your squad and your clientele in general. That you've not got one. How has it got to that point where we've got? I mean, you would have even kept Bavarsson and gone, what? Yeah, we've got a striker on the bench that's got championship experience. We've literally not got one.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, I don't rate D.WARD at all. I don't really rate Matt Smith. I think he'll absolutely smash it at Salford. But if you haven't got them, we haven't got any attacking options anymore. So in that last 5 minutes, if you'd seen him chuck on Matt Smith, D.WARD or whatever, gone to a flat 4, more attacking midfield, wingers, people like Mahoney, which by the way is one of the very few players in our team that can deliver a ball for Matt Smith. Then all of a sudden you go, we gave it a go.
Yeah. And now Brent says, good show, great comments, thank you very much. I just want to enjoy myself when I watch my team, win, lose or draw. And that's the thing. I'm not fussed about the result. I'm not fussed about going up or fucking do it. But just be fucking Millwall. And like you said, we've got to get away from that. But it doesn't mean we want to play football. We want to pop the ball. It doesn't mean you can't still have fucking endeavour and desire and fitness and pace and ideas of how to attack. Isn't it?
We're missing. I've said this a million times. We are missing a natural leader in that team. Firstly, I think that's something that's very, very important. Hutch is our captain, isn't he?
Well, Pierce is, but Hutch when he played well.
Yeah, we just need a solid leader in there. I think our midfield is shot to pieces. We need to make a lot of change. If we was to ever be competitive in the top half, I think we need to change a lot of that team.
Well, I spoke to you two off air before, and I can't say exactly what I said off air, but I will say this. I'm confident. I've got it on good authority. There's going to be 2 more players in before the end of the transfer window. So, I mean, they both really, we need a lot of players, but one of them needs to be a striker, or 2 of them. They both need to be forward-thinking players. We got maybe not the talent, but the capabilities and depth to deal with defensively, especially with Ballard coming back, especially now with Hayden Muller coming back. We need 2 other players in. And Jimmy says, lads, you reckon we're serious about the foreign market, or you reckon it's just a case of low service and bids just to show we're trying? I said this to you, H, didn't I, the other day? I said, I had a thought. I said, do you think that we're just making these noises, maybe even to Rowett'S and going, we bid, but it hasn't been accepted? Because other than simply, we've not gone back in with a second bid. Do you think they might have half an eye on getting rid of him with the next 6 games in mind and just maybe entertaining him? Yeah. But there's got to be something in this foreign market. It's not just come out of the blue. They said it last year, didn't they? It's funny this because I knew about the Afobe transfer long before it happened, Ken, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I told the boys on the group chat that he was coming in literally about 4 months before he did. And then when said Gary Rowett'S talking about dipping into the foreign market, and I think it is you, Ken, when he put it on, he's fucking talking about Afobe because he's playing in Turkey. But he obviously wasn't. There's other targets out there, and I think it can work. I spoke about this before. if you're not going to go with your youth, and we can't afford Championship or Premier League players, realistically, no one in the champ's going to join us from another club. Lower leagues and non-leagues are more difficult now because of social media. You know more. I mean, back in the day, no one would have known about Lee Gregory really when we signed him. On social media now, Lee Gregory will be all over the place as a Halifax player, scoring a lot of goals, wouldn't he? But this foreign market, is it got legs or is it bollocks?
Well, look, I think there are lots of different ways now that you can scout players, and that mold was broken by Brentford, okay, and looking at like the GX model that they were using and all kinds of other stuff. So you can scout 92 different leagues and look at players that are potentially undervalued in a Moneyballs type system. I know someone who does this professionally, and you can buy that information off them. I know that Bournemouth do. I know that a couple of other clubs do that as well. And you've only got to say one thing, haven't you? I think if you look at a player like Timur Pukki, who I think from Bromby, am I right? So somewhere like that, though,
somewhere like that, yeah.
Danish Premier Division. That I've been to FC Copenhagen, and if Stefan is out there this evening, Stefan, listening to this, I went to the game with him. Sometimes you will see him with his big Frederiksberg away flag, but obviously hasn't been over because of COVID. I think there is definitely, that's the kind of place where you might pick someone up. And I think you're absolutely right. The non-league now is kind of gone a little bit. You have to get really lucky, or the Premier League clubs sign so many young players just to keep them so that other people don't get them. Yeah, and if you watch that BT Sport thing about the South London footballers, and I think they said 15% of young English players in the Premier League now have come out of South London. And one of the comments I saw online was, why the hell are we missing out on these individuals? And I'm like, well, it's really simple. If Millwall or Chelsea are giving you interest, you're going to go to Chelsea because, that's the thing, but what they do is they keep that individual so that Arsenal, Fulham, Spurs don't get that individual. It's a really poor model, and you look at lower teams now like Fisher, who have got all of these young ex-academy players from Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, that are now down in the 6th or 7th tier playing their football down there because, they weren't given that opportunity to go and play for Wrexham or Chester or whoever else in the lower leagues, and there are some better models out there like Peterborough, dare I say, they've brought players through the ranks. So I think you've got to look abroad, and I think that it probably is easier now to scout players abroad and to get that model because you can buy information in. Now I don't know where we would get the money to do that, for example, maybe from getting rid of people like Matt Smith and John Daly Bavardsson's wages, and you can throw a scout some money, but that's the way that they were doing it. And I know certainly we had people like who did I speak to recently, Alex Stepney and Brian King, who have been in Norway and have done bits of scouting for Millwall casually and have sent them names and stuff in the past. So, yes, I think that it just feels to me like too much effort for the club to have to go out and be like, we're looking at these individuals abroad if they weren't seriously trying to do it. Now, I guess the only thing for me is
Jimmy nicely calls it lip service. Yeah. That was Jimmy for the original. I like that, Jim.
Yeah, just saying they're going to, and maybe the bids that they are putting in are nowhere near the benchmark that those individuals would expect. It's really difficult, isn't it, if you're going into an unknown market like that, and especially at a time when all football clubs, with the exception of probably the top 6 or 7 in every league around the world, are scrabbling for money.
Yeah, talking of abroad, Christian Bastinelli, thank you very much again for your donation over there in Belgium. The euros are flying in to the Lions TV bank account. On that subject, just quickly on a separate note. Through the company I work for, they're going to start doing football scouting again because they manage talent, ex-footballers and people who are influencers who have been in reality shows. They're going to start doing football scouting again. So I know the sort of bracket these scouts earn, and it isn't, like you say, they won't be sending the geezer over. They'll have someone over there, and they're not paid loads. So I definitely think it's got legs. What was you looking at there, Ken, in the comments? I saw you look at something and laugh. Was it something you wanted to reply to?
No. It looks like Joe's pulled.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, with Eva.
Oh, yeah, I see Eva floating about. I think that's the old. What was the other one's name? Sophie or something? I can't remember. Surely they'd have trained that formation all week. For fuck's sake, they're professional footballers all on over 10K a week, Players must take responsibility as well, and they're all woeful. I agree, Trev. Yes, they're professional footballers. They should be able to pass from A to B. I did say that. It wasn't really anything to do with Rowett. But what I do say is I think that's the detachment between the players and the management. In my opinion, I don't know anything, but just, you just feel sense an atmosphere sometimes, don't you? And I do sense it. I know I do get the feeling from previous comments from Rowett, he's not really got a lot of confidence in the players. And that's what I'd be saying about. Look, the fans don't like it. I don't fucking want to keep going up north. For example, I'm a winger, or I'm an attacking player. I don't want to sit back and defend in this formation. This ain't the answer, but I agree. You're on a lot of money, and they should be able to pass from A to B without an absolute doubt. People enjoy my team.
I think another argument towards that is that they haven't just been training all week. Over the last 3 years, that team has been part of that formation at some point. So for instance, even Mahoney has been part of that formation at some point.
So if you're not even in the team, you will be training every week within that team.
Exactly. And you're going to know the players that you train with. You're going to get a rough idea of their movement, etc. And also, you probably have an A side and a B side.
They do that a lot of training.
The B side, who would say, for instance, be the fringe players, some of the under 23s, maybe the subs, etc., against your first team. So the argument is sometimes, well, when these players come in, but they've never played together, granted they haven't played a championship level game together, but they should know certain movements of other individuals, etc., if they're training with them week in, week out.
I agree, fully agree. Alex S, look, listen, for me, this sums up Millwall and what it's about. We don't need 11 Ronaldos. We don't need 11 Lee Gregorys. We need 11 Murray Wallaces.
Well, if we'd had 11 Murray Wallaces on Saturday, we'd have lost by about 25 goals because he was shocking Saturday. And I don't often say that about him, but he was poor.
He has been poor lately. He did make a fantastic goal-saving tackle in the first half where he sort of dived in front of it and it deflected over the bar for a corner. But I think that sums me all up in a way. It's just about commitment now. It's not... I'm not fussed if we don't play good football. I just want us to go and give a good account of ourselves for the club.
I think Dan and H as well. I think, again, because I'm always boiling it down to formation and tactics and instructions. And I honestly do believe that the players, majority of them, that go out on that football pitch do actually give 100% to the cause. I honestly do. I don't think that they're operating very well in them tactics or that formation or with the instructions they've been given. But I don't believe that there's a player on that pitch that is sulking. Although I think they are all against the way they're being played.
Well, look, but now this isn't where it's got to now. I've seen that and gone, get in, like under my breath. We're relying on fucking other results.
We're relying on Peterborough to lose.
Yeah. What did you just say there, King? Because it was something I wanted to say on the back of that, and I couldn't remember what you said. Sorry.
What was we talking about?
What was we just talking about there? It was something I wanted to say.
Probably row it out, lads. You've been.
I've got lupus, mate. It's I've got short-term memory. So if you ask me something that happened 25 years ago, I'd remember. I don't know.
I'm sure we'll find something to talk about. And let's start with that. Why did we not get a Lafay back?
Okay, so he missed the recall window. The recall window had already finished by the time that Bradshaw had got injured. That's my understanding of the situation.
Oh, really? I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
Because I thought I saw an article from now where he said it was there if we wanted it, but we decided against it.
No, I think that they were debating on whether they should bring him back. And then they were like, no, he'll be fine. Let's give him another half season. We're not quite sure he's ready yet. And then down goes Bradshaw, and Afobe decides that he can no longer score or head a ball and just wants to try and sort of do a weird kind of like every time a ball comes near him.
I think that's the right call, though. For Lafay to stay where he is. As much as we're all screaming about getting get Lafay back. He's banging in goals. I've spoken to quite a few Sutton supporters, and they actually say he's not all that.
No, he's good. He's good, but I think he's good from what I've seen of him. I went to watch him. They're not Leighton Orient. I have noticed a couple of injuries here and there. He picks up little injuries. But let's talk about mate. How have we got nearly 2 hours into this podcast about fucking mentioning this man?
Well, he's old news now, isn't he?
Where's Jed?
I'll tell you what. One thing about Jed that is horrendous, and that's the way the club is handling this. For someone who's meant to be our talisman, our the key figure, maybe even a certain face of the club among championship supporters. When you say Millwall, probably one of the first names you'd think about them would be Jed Wallace, etc. We know absolutely nothing about what's going on with Jed Wallace. All we know is he's gone for a scan.
We only gone for that scan. He's fucking been going ages.
Well, exactly. Results would usually come back immediately, wouldn't they? We have no idea on length of time, etc. We have no idea about the contract negotiations that he was having, about renewing his contract and why he doesn't want to. We know absolutely nothing about our talisman, and I think that's really poor from the club.
It's been really badly handled.
I think maybe that's a deliberate ploy by the club, because I think that if he has gone for a scan and there is something wrong with him, it obviously affects his transfer value, right? And it's quite clear that we're not going to be able to get what we want for him or what he is worth anyway. If you look at the transfer market, I think we said this last time, he's worth, in their estimate, not my estimate, their estimate, 6.3 million roughly. And like we're saying, we'll be lucky at the moment if we get 2 pints of Hook Norton and a packet of crisps for him. So all of a sudden, if you then throw in a scan, maybe they've got the results of that scan and they're like, okay, well, now we really are fucked, because what are we going to do? We've got a scan where he's torn something and we can't sell him in this window and he can't probably play for the next 6 games. So we're going to be changing our management anyway, and it's all going to be a massive revolution. We're going to have to go back to square one and we might get relegated and we're all doomed, Captain Mannering.
And then he'll stay with us.
Yeah, and never quite be as good as he was previously. And we'd always be like, he's running down blind alleys. He's trying to do too much. Yeah, because he loves the club. He loves the team. He's a skillful player, and it is what it is. So I think maybe it's that. I mean, I agree with you a little bit, Kenny. It is difficult, but
Charlie says rightly there, if we can't sign a decent player, then throw big money at Jed. Ken, you're right. It's been very badly handled. I can't fucking work out what's going on with it, honestly.
A player isolated by himself isn't going to do. He's not good enough to make that much of an impact at the championship level to be worth giving out that sort of money, in my opinion. I think you need to build other decent players around him. Now, maybe that's by changing our system. Maybe that's by getting George Saville to play in that more, like we were saying, a 10 role, because he can score you 12 goals. We've seen he can do that. He did that previously in the championship, and I don't believe he's lost that ability. But that is one area where I'm critical of Rowett. He needs to look at that and think about what he's trying to get that individual if and when he comes back from his injury. So
it pops up today on social media. It says Gary Rowett makes honest admission about Winger's future, and I thought, oh fuck, Jed. I quickly clicked on it, and it was about Tyler Bury not going back to Hartlepool. I was like, But I mean, when does the transfer window close? Anyone even know?
31st, isn't it?
31st, yeah, end of the month, mate. So we've got another week of it, right? Is that right? Just over a week. Preston's the first. So it's next Monday.
Yeah, 28th Friday. 28th Friday is my birthday. If anyone wants to buy me a present,
no,
only be 31. There's so many comments actually backing up. But
Hook Norton, Red Rye. If you're out there, Hook Norton, I can send me a few of these. FOC. I'll get them on every other week.
You're asking for fucking beers one week, clothing for the next.
Yeah.
Demanded. Right, boys, listen, I think I've kept you long enough. It's been nearly 2 hours again. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Great chat.
And if you're up for doing it again next Wednesday, by that point, we would have played 2 more games. And hopefully, we fucking should have signed someone because the transfer window will be closed. So if we can do it next Wednesday, thank God. Can we?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
I don't see why not, other than a pending divorce at some stage. But yeah, Preston one night and then 2 hours on a podcast the next.
Oh,
and then,
Trevor.
And then the No One Likes Us Talking podcast, which is out this Friday, 8 p.m.
Sorry, H. Yeah, the No One Likes Us Talking podcast. He loves to plug the boy. 8 p.m. Friday night. Is that live, your one?
No, it's pre-recorded because I edit it sometimes.
We do.
Can I just say, he's not going to be
live anyway. Go on.
Big Eamon Barkley, who usually edits our podcast, has not been very well, and I just want to wish him a get well soon, mate. It would be great to have you back. And the other thing maybe we should mention, there's been a lot of it, is obviously poor old Isla Catton, who passed away, the West Ham little girl, last night, which is actually terribly sad. I know, like Tony Monday and a number of people have done bits and pieces. So just want to send my condolences out there. I'm sure everyone at the football club would say the same as it goes. But yeah, it's sad. That was sad today when I saw that.
Horrible, mate. No, never nice when anyone passes, especially someone of that age. But
yeah, it's disgraceful. People talk about God, and I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, you let a little child suffer like that. Leave me alone.
Anyway, let's not get political on this this show. Hang on, Joe. I've looked like I've nicked your missus. Sorry, I've already got one. Eva, sorry. There's already a Mrs. G on the scene. She can behave herself. Anyway, that's the end of this podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the donations. Please subscribe to Lions TV. Please let us get 3 points against West. If we get 3 points, imagine we get 6 points in the next 2 games. I won't let you on next week, H. But it's not fucking happening. Please subscribe to Lions TV. Cheers, boys. Come on, you Lions.
Come on, you Lions.
Come on, you Lions.